get so far ahead that I've not recorded an episode in like a month, and now I'm like, I don't know what I say at the beginning of these anymore.
You don't.
But yes, welcome to another episode of Wiki Weekends, a series where I scour the lengths and breadths of the internet to find a wiki entry on something I'm interested about, to see what kind of conversation arises as a result. And as always, I'm joined off camera by my good friend Lucas Holland. Say hello, Lucas.
Hello, Lucas.
And today we're talking about inventions.
Yeah, okay, so I was a bit curious, because you mentioned briefly before we begin, like, think of an invention, and I was like, where's this going?
Okay, so Lucas, today we're talking about the show Dragon's Den, and by extension, the American version, Shark Tank.
5 of Britain's wealthiest and most enterprising business leaders. Over the next 10 weeks, they'll make or break the dreams of dozens of budding entrepreneurs.
Do they have a Dragon's Den in America, or is it just Shark Tank?
It's the same show, yeah. They just give it a different name.
Yeah.
And right away, I'm just going to say that Dragon's Den is a way better name than Shark Tank. I get why it's called Shark Tank. I get it. You know, they're big, rich investors, and, like, you know, they are business sharks. But Dragon's Den works so much better as a name, because the idea of the show, if anyone's unfamiliar with it, is Dragon's Den is a British reality television business programme presented by Evan Davis and based upon the original Japanese series, so we'll get to that in a moment. The show allows several entrepreneurs an opportunity to present their varying business ideas to a panel of 5 wealthy investors, the dragons of the show's title, and pitch for financial investment while offering a stake of the company in return. And that's why I think the name Dragon's Den works much better, because Shark Tank, it is a very visceral image. The idea of being lowered into a tank of sharks is quite scary, and you can see that the people on that show are quite similar to sharks in some way. They're nibbling away at your business, trying to take pieces off you. But no one willingly puts themselves into a shark tank. Do you know what people will willingly go into, at least according to myth? A dragon's den, because dragon's dens are supposed to contain treasure, according to myth.
Yeah, it's like that whole thing where if anyone's seen, like, you know, the Hobbit movie where Smaug has, like, a bunch of treasure underneath him and a hoard of gold in a mountain. It's like, that's from Myth of Dragons, where they would hoard treasures.
But sharks don't, like, the only reason you would ever be in a shark tank is because you're being tortured in a James Bond movie. People don't willingly go into shark tanks. People in stories willingly go into dragons' dens because there's treasure in there. So I think the name of the show for the British version works way better.
Yeah. I just think it sounds better as a name anyway.
You see, you know, like these dragons, these like immeasurably wealthy individuals just hoarding their treasure, and you've got to go and try and steal a bit away from them. Whereas the shark tank, the image that conjures up is them trying to, like, you know, take pieces of you away.
Which is more than likely what happens on both shows, right? It's like, I get it, because these are people looking for investments, and these are, as you said, like, you know, sharks nibbling away at them and, like, picking pieces off, and it's essentially what they do. If they give them, you know, an investment, but it's for probably an awful deal that basically guarantees the person who puts the investment in with a lot of, like, shares and money afterwards, but not the creator.
Want your house, your car, and your firstborn child.
That's too hard a bargain.
Then I'm out. Me too. And I'm still going to take your car just to teach you a lesson, okay?
Yeah, but just the name Shark Tank does not suggest that the person's getting anything out of it, whereas Dragon's Den does. If you escape from the Dragon's Den, most likely you've escaped with some of its treasure.
Yeah.
Whereas if you escape from a Shark Tank, it's like, okay, so did Dr. No just get bored or something like that? Anyway, you know, the original Japanese version as well has a similar naming convention where it's sometimes called Dragon's Den, but it's known originally from its 2001 origins as the Tigers of Money.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
The Tigers
I don't know
of
how
Money.
much sense it makes, but I like the name, the Tigers of Money.
お店をしたいと思っています。
それは一体どんなもんなんですか?
The Japanese one was a little bit more like sort of Sergeant Major, you know, I'm the investor and you will do as I say. Whereas I think we're a little bit more, tell us a bit about your idea.
その強気で言う、そのもう自信のもいいんだけど、 やっぱりね、女の子だからもうちょっとやっぱり可愛げを持った売り方もしないといけない。
Although we're talking specifically about the British version and the American version of the show today, there are other international versions, and for the most part, they're all just called some variation of Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, depending on which region of the world they're in. With the exception of, like, I think the version of, like, from Romania is just called The Lion's Den.
Prenor vrea să dea lovitura sezonului la Imperiul Leilor.
My God.
Applicants can apply to appear on the show through the BBC website. However, they may be also directly approached to appear on the show. The final selection is based on the strength of an idea, a robust business plan, and projected turnover. Selected candidates will have what they believe to be a viable and profitable business idea or already operational business, but lack startup funding, funds promotion, or expansion.
Hello Dragons, my name's Tiernan McCorkle. I'm from a company called Pipe Easy Limited, and I'm here today to secure hopefully an investment for $41,000 for 15% of the company.
And here's something I didn't know about the show, Lucas. Strict rules apply that they had to have had no prior contact with the current panel of dragons, and they will sign a non-disclosure agreement prohibiting them from publicly discussing the details of their time on the show until it has been broadcast.
And I'm really not surprised about that part because, like, yeah, they don't want, like, people swanning around going like, oh, I got investments from this, or I, you know, got, like, treated really harshly by the dragons or whatever. And I'm kind of almost surprised that there's no, like, you know, non-disparagement clause in there, which there may be.
There
and it may
probably
not.
is, yeah. And I'd go through the premise of the American version where it's basically the same. The reason I'm talking about both today is because there is sections on the Dragon's Den wiki page and the Shark Tank wiki page about notable pictures on the show. But it's like, have you got any favourite, like, Dragon's Den moments, or is there any favourite, like, you know, particular dragons from the show?
As far as I'm concerned nowadays, when I've grown up as an adult, I'm very much in that, like, anti-capitalist mindset of like,
course, yes.
They're all billionaires, they can all go fuck themselves. So I don't really say that I have a favourite, because you just watch them, like, picking apart people's company as they're desperate, as their, like, last chance to probably get a loan in.
Yeah, and the one thing I will say about the show, though, is I don't know how it is aired on the BBC, because for Americans watching, there are very strict rules about advertising on the BBC. You are not allowed to advertise on the BBC. It is funded by public money. So it has to remain impartial. They say it does. Lucas is laughing off screen that it's impartial.
Well, no, it has to be impartial in terms of, like, news programming, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you can be a comedy show that's not impartial.
Yeah. But as an entity, the BBC is impartial and cannot take advertising money. So I don't know how Dragon's Den makes it onto the show, because essentially your pitch is just advertising your business and or product.
But it's not an advert, Karl. It's a product pitch, right? And it's like, yeah, but that inherently advertises it because you're getting potentially millions of viewers to see your product, admittedly before it's probably been launched. But, like, for example, one that was pretty successful that I first saw on Dragon's Den and then went and purchased a few times afterwards was Reggae Sauce.
Somebody put some music in the food for me. Give me some reggae sauce. Hot reggae sauce. It's so nice, I had to name it twice.
Which is noted here as one of the most successful investments in the history of the show.
And I probably wouldn't have heard of it if it weren't for Dragon's Den. So yeah, as much as it isn't an advert, the only reason I know it exists is because of that show.
And that's what, like, throws me off. I don't understand. Presumably some lawyer somewhere has, like, argued, well, technically this isn't advertising, so it doesn't break the advertising rules on the BBC. But I'm not sure how it does that, because it's basically an advert.
But it's, like, the loophole through it, right?
Yeah, but, yeah. There's a bunch of statistics as well, which means you can tell that this is done by a fan. So would you like some general statistics about the show before we move on to, like, the most successful pictures from the show?
Yeah, let's go, because, like, as much as I say, you know, taking that cynical, like, fuck all the billionaires approach to, like, the dragons themselves. I do find the show fascinating still.
It is fascinating, yeah, because, like, a lot of the time, like, obviously, we all like watching the bad ones. We all love watching the bad pictures. Like, there's the guy who's obsessed with, I have made road signs safer. And he just puts lights around the edges of stop signs.
You see, once this is fitted, you will not turn right in front of that learner driver who's just found the gear. You will not turn right in front of young Susie, who's been busy doing her makeup, because someone will toot behind her and she'll fly forward straight into you.
And, like, the dragons are like, okay, so who's the market for this? Who would you talk to about road signs are handled by the government? Have you spoken to the government? And the guy's like, yeah, the lady in charge of all the road signs doesn't like me. And it's like, so what are you pitching as an idea? And obviously it's fun to watch that, if a bit cringy.
Oh no, the lady who runs the signs and signals doesn't like the idea.
She doesn't like the idea. Okay, all right. Well, another dragon, please interrupt me.
Not a great start for the inventor.
It's a bit cringy, yeah, but, like, you know, it's one of those where, yeah, just moments like that where it's like, well, there is one avenue to go down to get any money out of this, and you've gone down that avenue and they said no. What's the pitch here?
Yeah. But then the other times where you'll watch it and go, hang on, that is a good idea. Why doesn't that already exist?
And there's times where it's a very good idea, and you're just like, how can, like, none of these dragons see that this is a good pitch? And they'll be like, it's very uncommon, but there are several times where, like, they've fully just pulled apart a product and been like, this is an awful idea. And I'm sat there like, for most people, that's a pretty good idea.
Yeah, do you know, like, we can get to that in a moment, because there's a couple of, like, famous, like, missed opportunities of the dragons, but we have a few general statistics about the show here. So £100,000 is the most common investment figure asked for by pitchers. £35,000 is the lowest ever amount offered for a successful pitch. £250,000 is the highest amount ever successfully pitched for in the den, which I think that's the difference between the American version and the British version, where the American version, people come in like, $1 million for 1% of my business.
Hey Sharks, my name is Justin Wang. I'm here today to ask for $500,000 for 1% of my company, Lark. Have you ever noticed that funky smell coming from your reusable water bottle? I bet you have. And if you're like most people, you do what we call the sniff test.
Yeah,
and because like the American version is a lot more commercialized, a lot of the things on there are already successful companies. Whereas the British ones, you got a lot of people like, I made a wheelbarrow. It's pretty good. I want 10 grand to make my wheelbarrow better.
The Pipe Easy tool, which is a unique invention for the DIY user or tradesperson, which gives them ability to go around pipes and posts quite easily.
That's the thing, is like a lot of the time they've half thought about the product pitch, and it's like, well, if you give me like 50 grand now, then, you know, I can do a bunch of development and we can get some like stock in, and then it's like, okay, but in a year's time your money's going to be gone. What do you do then? Well, I'll ask for more money from someone. It's like, no, maybe you've undervalued this and you need to ask for some more money than you planned here.
Yeah, and Lucas, this is the one that you're going to like, because I know you hate rich people. The highest amount of equity ever given away in the den was 79% by RKA Records, which was later renamed Bannatyne Music Limited.
This is what I mean. A lot of the time you can just see their, like, in their heads, they're just thinking, how can I essentially just rip these fuckers off and make it my own?
And the American version's a lot worse for that, because one of the people on the American version is called Mr. Wonderful. So you already know he's a prick. And he is infamous on the show for, like, I'll give you the money, and I don't want a percentage of your business. I just want a royalty. Which means he wants a cut on the back end for every product that you sell forever.
So if you were going to take 20 cents a bar, you would get $360K based on my Amazon sales from last year.
Yeah.
That seems, for lack of a better word, nuts.
And it's like, no, go and fuck yourself.
A nickel.
In perpetuity?
Nope, 10 years.
A nickel for 10 years.
Then we have here some successful people who have been invested. And the first one noted, Lucas, is Levi Roots of his reggae sauce. Do you remember the song still?
I don't remember the song anymore, no.
But you
but
do
I
remember,
do remember
like, the
that
pitch,
being
don't
like...
you? It's like a super, like, you know, cool-looking dude with dreadlocks just comes up the stairs, playing guitar, singing like his theme song.
Put some music in my food for me and give me some reggae sauce. At reggae sauce.
So just put some music in your food today, get you some reggae sauce. And even though the guy didn't know his numbers...
I thought you said that you had an order for 2.5 million litres. That's not what this letter says.
It's one of those ones where you look at it and you go, you know that the dragon's like, okay, he's not a good businessman, but this is a fucking fantastic pitchman.
That's the thing, is like, he was a good salesman and they can help him out on the business side. It's like, you've got a good product, you're a very charming person, we can help you out with the numbers and invest.
The supermarket says it sold almost 500,000 bottles in the first 3 months, much more than it anticipated.
There's a few here that I don't really know. I don't recognise many of them. Like, one is like Razzmatazz Theatre Schools, a chain of dance and drama and singing schools pitched in season 4. But it's launched all over the UK and internationally following a £50,000 investment.
The name, like, rings a bell, but that might just be because, you know, razzmatazz is, like, a term used in theatre in general. But
yeah.
Like, yeah.
And there's one here, Worth and Shaw's, later rebranded as Kirsty's, a frozen dairy-free dessert, an alternative to ice cream pitched in Season 8.
Kirsty, tell me, who's Worthenshaw's?
I'm Henshaw. And my boyfriend is Worthington, and if he ever wants to marry me, then I'll be a Worthington.
Have you asked him?
No, not yet. We've not been together very long, but...
Okay, the other one here is Skinny Tan, a self-tan brand launched by Louise Ferguson and Kate Cotton. Reports one of the fastest-selling tanning products in the UK.
Is that why? I don't understand where the, like, skinny tan comes in. Like, are they trying to say that tan cream makes you, like, fat?
I don't know.
I don't know. That's a weird name.
But you can tell a lot of these as well from like the 2000s because the names are like really fucking bad. And we have the Craft Gin Club, a subscription-based gin service pitched in season 14.
I mean, that makes sense.
It makes sense,
Like,
but
I've not heard of it.
It's not an original idea. And I don't understand how they got marketing for that. Or they got picture of like, this is not an original idea.
Or if it... I don't know how long ago season 14 was, but like, maybe they got in just as all those box service subscriptions things were like coming into fashion.
But here's the interesting ones, Lucas, of rejected investments. So some contestants have gone on to reach the market with their products despite being turned down by the Dragons and have met with a range of successes. The first one is Destination London, a board game pitched in Series 1, which went on to reach a mass market and design several editions for various companies before selling the business in 2010. By 2021, the portfolio of Rachel Lowe was reported to be worth £94 million, which is more than some of the Dragons on the show.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel and I make board games and puzzles. And 20 years ago, I had an idea for a game. I was working as a taxi driver for our local cab firm Aqua, and I was out on a shift one night and I thought, red light, miss a turn. And that is where my 20-year career started.
Jesus.
And here's the one that you might be familiar with, Lucas. Trunky. Do you know those little suitcases that kids ride on in airports?
Yeah, that was one of the ones I was thinking of when I was saying like, no, this is a good idea, and for some reason the Dragons were like ripping it apart.
Yeah,
and I've
stupid.
seen them in airports now.
See, I want a full-size version of that for myself.
This looks rubbish.
Yeah, I didn't design that, I'm afraid.
No, but they are rubbish.
Yeah.
I think if anybody was tempted to invest in Trunky, when the strap came off, I think people thought, well, nah, not for us.
Yeah, I want an adult one. I was like, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and there's a great story. I think it's Duncan Bannatyne who was talking about, yeah, when I'm flying, I'll see them in the airports and be pissed off that I didn't invest in it.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is Tangle Teaser, a range of styling brushes pitched in Series 5 by Sean Pulfrey. And it's widely considered to be the most successful business not to receive an offer in the den, reportedly turning over in excess of £30 million a year. And that's one of those things where you look at it and go, how does this not exist already? And it's simply just a brush, but it has like a specific way the teeth are aligned, so it doesn't like make your hair clump or hurt.
Tangled, knotted hair drives hairdressers insane. Tangled teasers, uniquely designed teeth, will glide through the hair, removing knots and tangles that is caused and associated with conventional tools on the market today.
Basically just to like better brush through your hair.
A better brush, and I think the reason it fails on the show, Deborah Meaden's like, well, that's no different from the brush I use on my horse's hair.
So if there is already a product out there that's doing exactly the same as yours, albeit for horses, but it would be very easy to say, well, let's make a smaller one and sell them.
Okay. I don't know. I've never seen the one for horses, but all I can turn around and say that is that I shall certainly look at that one for horses and see if it functions and performs like mine.
And it's like, but why would you use a horse
But
brush?
it's not marketed towards humans,
People.
it's marketed for horses. Yeah.
And I think that's the one where the guy is like a hairstylist, and like they joke about Deborah Meaden having dyed hair, and the guy's like, yeah, she probably has dyed hair, and she gets really mad.
Oh.
But it's one of those things where you look at it and go, so it's a brush that works better than other brushes, and you sell it for like £3 or £4, and you've got like a patent on this, right? Yeah, sure. $1 million idea.
Yeah.
Right away. It's a brush that you can put through people's hair, and it doesn't hurt. Done.
Oh, but I could just go buy a horse brush. Yes, of course. That's what everyone's going to be thinking when they see that, because everyone knows what horse brushes are like,
And
Deborah.
here's the one, Lucas. So I don't understand how I think Tangle Teaser might be the most successful one, because the price for the next one was never disclosed. Hungry House, an online takeaway food order and delivery service, was pitched in Series 5.
It's a bit like the Yellow Pages, but all the menus are right there too. After you click on the food you want, we pass the order to the restaurant and they deliver like normal. We charge the restaurant a commission on each order. Domino's Pizza has proven that people enjoy ordering takeaway through electronic channels. They now deliver 1 in 7 pizzas this way.
Yeah, Joe, you mentioned, like, the dragons don't understand. They're saying, why would I not just look up the name of my local takeaway? So if anyone's wondering, like Americans, what's Hungry House? Uber Eats. They pitched Uber Eats in like 2005. And the dragons are like, why would you not just look up the address of your local Chinese takeaway?
Why wouldn't I do this myself? If I want to go and spend £100,000 of my money or anybody else's money, why do I need you?
Well, the value in the business is the system design, coding, website.
No, there's no value there.
They were just like, but I've got, like, I know where my local takeaways are. I've got, like, pamphlets for them and menus and stuff. And they just don't see the convenience of having an app that's just, oh, hey, here's everywhere within a 20-mile radius that'll deliver to you. Go pick one.
And it mentions here that they declined an investment from Duncan Bannatyne and James Caan. So they did get an offer, but declined it. The company went on to become a household name in the industry and was later bought for an undisclosed sum, although some rumours like several hundred million, merging with competitor Just Eat in 2017.
The risk-reward ratio isn't very good.
It's been a hard business lesson for the duo. Their valuation priced Duncan out of the market.
Quite happily, they say, well, we need another $1 million now. It's like, well, when does it end?
Yep, it's wild looking back on that. And I'm explaining, essentially, a very, very similar version of the exact food apps we have now, which is how it worked at the time. And they were like, yeah, we've got a bunch of restaurants on board. You know, we've, I think they already had it running in, like, the Netherlands or something as, like, a trial, and it was working fine. And then they're like, no, this is a dumb idea.
Yeah, but there's just like a bunch of like ideas like that. So before we move on to the Shark Tank, because there's some other stuff on the Dragon's Den. There's there's allegations against, like, you know, the dragons for not investing when they're supposed to. But it makes sense if you think about it. Because I read through it initially, and it's like controversy, always a great thing to cover on a Wiki Weekends episode. It's like, the deal is a handshake deal. And the dragons and the investors are not held to the terms of that handshake deal until, like, you know, they've just gone through the records and can, like, you know, figure out if it's like a fair summation or say if the valuation is
yeah, like they need to go and do their due diligence before the investment actually happens.
Not to mention as well the people asking for investment have the customary 14-day cooling off period, which is standard for most contracts and deals inked in the UK at least. We have 14 days to back out of like any contract that you sign with like no issue.
Yeah, because it's a high pressure environment. You're under stress. You pitch into like 5 people at once that are all tearing you apart, and then you have to like hope that one of them gives you a chance, and maybe you kind of reflect upon that deal that you had done under pressure on TV, and you go, oh no, wait, we've just given away like our entire company for a loan.
Yeah, and you can also
it's probably not worth it.
You can also do additional negotiations as well. But like it's framed as like, oh, the show never makes this clear. It's like it's one of those things where it makes sense if you think about it for more than like 5 minutes. Of course, yeah,
it does make it very clear to the contestants, but it just doesn't show you that because it's not exciting for TV.
No, it's not. You don't want to see like, okay, now we've done this, let's just like set our lawyers down and we're going to go through your accounts for like 4 days. No one wants to see that part.
If you want Calculon to race to the laser gun battle in his hover Ferrari, press 1. If you want Calculon to double-check his paperwork, press 2. Enter now. You have pressed 2.
No, I didn't.
I'm almost positive you did.
So we're just going to skip over all that and go on to the same section on the Shark Tank page. Before we do, Lucas, are there any like ideas that you've had or seen that you think, how is that not a thing, or how is it not a thing sooner?
I mean, I'm sure there probably is, but like the one thing that I want inventing is just like some way of making like some kind of garlic press or garlic mincer that actually fucking works and doesn't get all the garlic stuck in it.
And presumably there is a device that does that. I'll try and find, if I Google it, I bet I'll find an ad for one, for like QVC or something like that, where it exists. And it'll be one of those like kitchen gadgets that you don't know exist, but does.
This is a vampire garlic crusher. All you have to do is twist it and you can put it on your favorite dish.
But like 99% of the time, they're always like, this is like a hack product for your kitchen that's going to save you so much time, and it just doesn't work very well.
And something that made me completely rethink how I viewed products like that. 'Cause a lot of the time, we all know the classic adverts, right, of like, does this remind you of anybody? And it's like the fucking idiot in black and white not being able to do like the cling film falling over or whatever. Do those classic like, look at this fucking idiot who can't like get his bowl of chips on his lap without falling over.
Does it make your blood boil? The greasy mess from pouring hot oil. Those globs of batter that burn and bake, ruin your pan, and a disaster make. Introducing the ingenious Easy Pour No Drip Spout.
A lot of those products were initially designed and intended for people who are disabled, but that's a very small market.
Doing laundry is such a chore. It's time-consuming and even makes your back sore. Laundry baskets break and are a thing of the past. Now it's time to carry all your clothes in something that will last. Introducing Luggies. Lose the basket. Carry all these with ease.
It's not like a tiny market, but at the same time, it's a lot less than all of the population. Yeah.
So what they often do with products like that is market them to a mass audience, and then that's where you get the jokes like, well, who's going to need, like, say, for example, like a slanket, I think it was, where it's like, it's a blanket that you can wear. Who can't just hold a blanket around their neck? It's like, what about people who've, not got full mobility?
It's impossible to comfortably read, type, or channel surf with an ordinary blanket. That's why you need a Slanket. It's the best blanket ever. The Slanket is a giant, high-quality, thick fleece blanket with roomy, oversized sleeves. It's 5 feet wide and over 8 feet long.
And the way I saw it broken down is if it was exclusively marketed towards people who are disabled, fully able people would not buy it or see it as an option for them. However, when it's done the other way, disabled people will still see the value in it, but then, it might get bought just for the novelty value or, the niche use case that it has.
You can crack them that way. And we've all done this. But no matter how you crack them, you always end up picking out eggshells. Not anymore. Introducing Easy Cracker, the ingenious new product that lets you crack open eggs, separate eggs, even crack hard-boiled eggs quickly and easily without the mess.
Yeah, I mean, Karl, not specifically a slang kit, but you've been to my house and seen like the pile of goodies that we've got.
You gotta hurry. I just got back from Walmart. They're selling Nintendo 3DS systems for $149.99 on sale. Plus, every time you buy one, you get a $50 gift card. Brings the total price down to $110 after tax. Now listen, we can flip those sons of bitches for $230 a piece. Easy. They're all limited edition Zelda ones. Hurry. Hurry, come with me. We can be rich, and we also all get to keep one, and we can play Nintendo games. Nintendo, give me free stuff.
Like, again, just something where you're like, well, you can just wrap a blanket around yourself. It's like, yeah, but what if you became the blanket?
And I'll never forget when it was pointed out to me that all those products, it's a dressing gown you wear backwards.
Yeah.
And somehow, someone got a fucking patent on that. Just a dressing gown you wear the other way around. And one that sticks out to me is someone who worked in a kitchen, where I could not believe that the dragons could not see the value in it. Is the guy who invented just this machine, and all it does is it just cooks eggs.
We've devised a product that makes cooking eggs as easy as making toast. It's a sort of toaster for eggs.
And there's plenty of gadgets and kitchen gizmos that will help you cook eggs.
Are you tired of that hassle of peeling for what seems to be hours whenever you want to enjoy delicious high-protein eggs?
And there's those things that you can just drop into boiling water, and it'll cook your egg, or it'll stop a poached egg from seeping out and giving you all that weird Cthulhu-esque tentacles coming off that makes your poached egg look like shit. He invented a waterless egg cooker that will perfectly cook an egg.
We plan to produce a range of products for different size households. The smallest being the single egg cooker, which is aimed at small households, students, OAPs, and so on. It's small and neat, and retailing at less than £20 makes a perfect gift purchase.
And the dragon's like, well, what's the fucking point of this? What use does this have? And I was sat there thinking, if you scale that up and put that into a commercial kitchen, and you can just put in, say, 15 eggs, and you put the thing down, and you walk away, and there's no water, so there's no boiling water, there's no risk, there's no danger, and it's just in 15 minutes, in 3-4 minutes, you open it up, and now you have 15 fully cooked eggs.
As soon as it's finished like this, it beeps, and you can see the bezel goes blue. Then that's it, it's done. Oh, I forgot to put the egg in.
And also just, it's one of those weird things where, yes, cooking an egg is simple.
Cooking 50 eggs?
The perfect... Well, no, I was just going to say for personal use, cooking an egg perfectly exactly how you want it, especially, as you mentioned, a perfect poached egg. Most people can't fucking do that, right? It's not hard, but it's a skill that most people haven't bothered to learn.
But also, as well, I could not believe that the dragons couldn't see the value in it. When the guy's like, I've got a patent on the technology. Well, what value does this have? It's if you scale that up and you get the giant version of it and sell it to fucking kitchens.
Yeah, exactly. If you could do 20, 30 eggs at once...
Without water
sell
as well.
To every fucking kitchen.
Without water. So you don't need to boil water, which is hugely inefficient. And a couple of other inventions that I'm familiar with, I've always wondered how does this not exist? And there's probably a really complicated answer about the scale of it. But those phone charger things you get, I've got one here. Just these little pads that you get. You can't see my screen right now, Lucas, but those you put your phone on and it just charges.
Just like a wireless charging pad,
yeah.
you mean? Yeah.
Have you ever seen those mock-ups people have done just a desk made of them? Where just the entire surface of your desk is that?
I've not, but I could imagine that would be a big power drain.
It would be a big power drain, yeah. But I look at that and think, that probably does exist somewhere, because I know I've seen desks where they have a certain portion of the desk in one of those built in. Mm-hmm. And presumably there is if you get a really expensive one, but I'm thinking that just seems like something that should exist, right? Someone in the comments going it does, or it'd be impossible to scale up, but I just find myself thinking, why does it not?
That does feel like it should be something in our, future with technology, right? Is if instead of having to have a bunch of plug sockets, is that you've just got your, portion of your floor you can just put things on or on your desk and it just powers itself. That feels like some kind of future tech that should exist at some point.
Especially considering that the technology exists now. And this cost me £10. And this cost me £10. It's 3 by 3 inches. Can they not scale that up? And presume the answer probably is they can, but it's really expensive. Why is there not a version of this that's the size of a desk, for example, and then everything I put on my desk just charges on its own?
I can only imagine, again, I don't know the science or cost around this or anything, but I can only imagine that the difficulty becomes like exponential the bigger and bigger you make it.
Presumably, yeah. And that's the thing, like, I'm not an inventor. And there's probably an inventor out there. Someone working for Apple trying to figure that out. So they can sell that shit to you. Yeah, I've got like a wireless mouse and a wireless keyboard. Just the idea that I could put them on this desk and just they will always just constantly draw power from the desk. They will never run out of battery. Ever.
You know what I need them to figure out, Karl? A wireless mouse that doesn't have its signal blocked by a tiny desk.
Or your hand.
Yeah. I just need my wireless mouse to be able to work consistently all of the time.
Yeah, and someone's going to mention that classic Apple one, where it's the wireless mouse that you have to charge by putting the cable into the bottom of the mouse.
But the entire point of that is that Apple care about aesthetics and don't want to see people with wires coming out of it.
Wireless mouse, yeah. Because I always get seen like, this is a stupid design decision. It's like, no, it's actually ingenious, because it means that the mouse will never not be used while wireless, which is what Apple want. They don't want the visual of the wire on the mouse because they sell it as a wireless one. It's annoying as a consumer, but from an aesthetic standpoint, it does make sense.
I was going to say, because Apple care about the aesthetics of their products more than like the user friendliness of them.
Yes, they do. And one last idea that I've it's one of those things. It's probably something that does exist and then just was deemed to be just hugely inefficient. But something I remember hearing about years and years ago now was an alternative to radiators, where instead of having a radiator, you have this paint, and it's this special thermal paint. And what you do is you have it's a regular plug socket in your house. You plug it in, and a cable goes out, and it's like this metal thing that sticks into your wall. And what it does, it warms up the paint. So instead of having a radiator, you just flick on your power switch on your wall, and then your wall gets warm.
Okay.
And just however much of the wall you paint is now the radiator. And I remember hearing about that and going, that's fucking genius. And then I never heard anything about it ever again, despite it sounding so simple and such an ingenious solution to heating issues.
Yeah, that's one of those where it's like, where's the poop? What's the problem with this? Because that sounds too good to be true.
There has to be some issue with that, because I heard about it and then just never saw anything about it ever again. It's like Starlight, which is fodder for another Wiki Weekends video, which is this wonder material a hairdresser made in his garden in the 80s. And it's one of those things where everyone assumes it's fake, because the promises this guy made what Starlight could do sounded ridiculous. It was completely non-toxic. It was made for stuff you could just find under your sink in your house, so just readily available ingredients that you could buy tankers full of. And it was the best insulator of heat possible, to the point where I think the way they advertised it is on Tomorrow's World, which is presumably which I think is where I saw that paint thing. It's one of those consumer shows that here's some inventions that you might see on store shelves one day, and Starlight was one of them. The way they showed it is it's just an egg under a blowtorch.
So how is it doing? Well, it hasn't broken up at all, and you can see on the front here it's glowing red hot.
It's yeah, this egg's been covered in Starlight. Here's a blowtorch. The blowtorch's been on it for 5 minutes. Guy picks up the egg with his bare hands, not even hot, cracks the egg, not even cooked.
But just watch this. If I turn the flame off and remember that it was producing 1200 degrees Celsius, and I take that charred bit and I put it flat in the palm of my hand, it only just feels warm. And if I then crack it open, what's more, the egg hasn't even begun to start cooking.
And then there's a bunch of independent research that was done on examples of Starlight by NASA, who just hit it with lasers that were the equivalent of a nuclear explosion, and it was fine. So this thing exists, and then the guy never told anyone how to make it, and then he died.
Despite huge interest from big business and even NASA, Ward refused to let any samples of Starlight out of his sight or reveal any information about it.
It sounds made up because it's so ridiculous, but then the evidence of its existence and the things it could do exists, and you have NASA saying, yeah, it could survive the heat given off by a nuclear explosion. This could revolutionize space travel. If we put this shit on the outside of an airplane or a spaceship, it'd survive re-entry no problem. Like, it could be usable for, like, reusable rockets and stuff like that. And then the guy never told anyone how to make it.
All we're saying really is that I'm protecting my materials, and you ain't going to pinch it.
In 2011, he died.
But it sounds made up. And every
It
time
does,
you
yeah.
mention it online, someone's like, oh yeah, there's a YouTuber who knows how to make it. And it's like, they never do, because they never get the ingredients right.
Yeah.
And supposedly, there's one person alive who knows how to make it. It's the guy's daughter. And she won't tell anybody because they refuse to buy the license to the formula. They want to buy the formula outright.
Of course, yeah.
And it's just one of those things where we'll probably make a video on it one day because it's fascinating. Of like, it's when you hear about stuff like Roman concrete. You heard about like Roman concrete, which was like a special version of concrete the Romans made that didn't break or have any wear and tear on it, and we just lost the ability to make it.
We just never kept around the detail of how to recreate it, and now we just don't have as good concrete as they did.
Roman concrete is one of the most resilient construction materials ever created. It was even capable of setting and hardening underwater, an essential property as it allowed the Romans to build structures such as harbours, breakwaters, and piers out into the sea. It has even been shown to have the ability to self-heal small cracks that appear in the material.
Moving on to Shark Tank now. There's a couple of inventions on here, Lucas, that I think you might be familiar with. So there's a list of notable companies here. And the first one I'm going to mention is one of probably the biggest mistakes they made. Speaking of the dragons just not seeing the value of the products that they've been showcased, Scrub Daddy.
Hi, Sharks. I'm Aaron Krause from Philadelphia, and I'm known as the daddy of the Scrub Daddy.
Oh, right. Okay, so this was the other thing that I had in mind, but I assumed that was invested in.
It was, but only by one of the sharks.
Right.
So one of the sharks, they're called like the QVC Queen, so like, the direct sales television network. Mm-hmm. They saw the value of it instantly.
It's just one of those of like, it's almost too good to be true.
Yes.
But then you just buy one and use one and it's like, no, it works exactly as advertised.
Like Scrub Daddy, it's one of those things, it's like Starlight, where when you hear what it does, like it's a sponge that's soft when it's warm, but it's like rock hard when it's cold, and you can use it as both a soft sponge and a scourer. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, but it's going to break right away, right? It's going to like fall apart in your hands, or you'll end up with like sponge bits everywhere. It's like, no, it doesn't.
Here, under the 10 pounds, it's soft and compressible, and that's like a sponge. That's for your general scrubbing applications. But here, check that out. It's hard and firm. That's going to be for heavy-duty scrubbing applications.
It is an immaculate product, and I will swear by that product for the rest of my life probably. And like literally, I trust that brand to the point where like we recently just also bought a cart daddy for our shopping carts.
I've heard about like it's like now like this global brand, but when I saw like the initial picture, like it's one of those things where it looks like one of those things you'd see on like shopping networks. So okay, it probably does do what it says it does, but I bet it only works once. Like, Joe, when you see those, like, ooh, like, it's like the mega slicer, and it can slice all your vegetables instantly. And you see, like, the expert, like, slicing and julienning all the vegetables perfectly. And it probably does work like that, but it'll probably break after the third use. It's probably, like, made in China knockoff shit.
Until now, this was the only way to get juice from an orange.
You mean there's a better way?
But then the Scrub Daddy actually does everything it says on the tin. And then he's really cheap.
Yep.
For what it is.
It's just one of those of like, I just like, you would assume, because we're kind of like trained to like be this way and be cynical about it, of like, you assume that, it's going to want the one time when you use warm water on it and it goes soft, it's never going to get back to its original hardness again, or it's going to fall apart. And it just doesn't. And like, they last for quite a long time.
And it's just one of those products where it's like, I think I watched the pitch for it because I didn't realize it was on Shark Tank first, and the guy is like, this is ingenious. How? And it's one thing again. How did it not exist before? How is this not a thing somebody thought of?
I mean,
It's
I
so
presume
simple.
like it's just maybe quite difficult to figure out how to make it, I guess.
Probably, but that guy did, and now that guy's a billionaire. Like, he's richer than some of the people who are on Shark Tank now.
Yeah, and there's another one where like another kitchen product where I was like, okay, this just seems like a thing where it's like whatever. But Karl, I'm sure, like many of us, you've like used fucking tin openers, can openers, and they're awful.
They're wank. Like, make a good one.
I'm not one to choose sides, but this looks like an excellent can opener.
And there is a good one. And just like, I've had this, I just googled it now. It's a Culinaire Magican.
Okay, so this is actually a can opener that works. Because like, I've got a can opener in my kitchen. Fucking shit.
It's a can opener that's just a very simple can opener that just works. And it's like a $5. And I've had one for a dozen years, and it's still not shown any signs of breaking.
I'll tell you what, in that case, Lucas, I'm going to do a couple more of these, and let's just say some products that we would wholeheartedly endorse.
Yeah.
So this is not like...
This is not
sponsored
paid for or advertisement or anything.
And we invite folks at home watching, just like, if you have a product that you would wholeheartedly endorse, or speak to the quality, or just the efficacy of, do so in the comments below. But the other one is Doorbot, which sounds... You heard of Doorbot, Lucas?
No, I've not, no.
You probably won't know Doorbot, because it didn't get invested in.
Okay.
And they retooled it, and they rebranded it Ring.
Amazon is expanding its presence in the smart home market. The e-commerce giant announced yesterday it has officially closed the deal to buy the home security device company Ring. It's a reported $1 billion acquisition, making it one of Amazon's biggest purchases.
Yeah, and Amazon bought them for $1 billion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's a billionaire. But that's another one where the dragons or the sharks did not see the value in it. Of like, what would be the value in knowing who's knocking on your door? There's like,
yes,
really?
It's never like,
really?
It's never handy to be able to talk to the person ringing your doorbell, to have video footage of someone stealing packages outside your house, to just see who like is coming at your door. If it's just a fucking salesperson you can't be asked talking to.
Yeah, what I do like though was the guy who does it when they say like, well, a burglar is not just going to come up and knock on your door, and the guy's like, actually most burglars do that, because burglars often check who's in the house before they break in.
Because all burglars ring the doorbell first.
You know what though, Mark? That's actually true. Burglars are not usually violent criminals. They want to see if someone's home. They want the opportunity to go into a house that does not have people in it. So it's actually true. People do ring the doorbell.
Burglars don't randomly just kick down the doors of houses willy-nilly. They check if someone's home first.
Or a lot of the time, if people aren't aware, someone might pretend to be a cold caller while someone tries to like jump your fence and get into the back.
Yep.
Stuff like that. Yeah, often people will knock on your door and try to figure out like, oh, they definitely out of the house.
Yep. And just that guy made $1 billion fucking dollars when Amazon bought it. And he's now richer than almost every dragon on the show, except for Mark Cuban, who's just like straight up a billionaire.
And another thing to like, just not even necessarily like a brand or anything, but just like buying a whetstone instead of buying new knives all the time.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
like,
I've got a steel. Yeah, a whetstone or a steel for sharpening your knives. Like, there's a really great Gordon Ramsay YouTube video where it's like, what do you need in your kitchen? And he says, like, kitchen gadgets are a dime a dozen. Here's what you need. It's like a good saucepan, a good knife, a good chopping board, and a good frying pan.
Cooking great food doesn't mean you have to spend a fortune on fancy equipment. Get some basic essentials and you'll be set in the kitchen.
But in that vein, Lucas, so any products you would wholeheartedly endorse or sing the praises of without being paid to do so. But if someone would like to pay us to promote something, you can reach out to us at the details below if you'd like us to sponsor a product on the show, or you'd like a product to be sponsoring the show.
yeah, of course. Like, there's one that I've mentioned on this episode already, and I've mentioned multiple times of like, Udi, please just send me some free Udis.
Just your Udi.
I will sing the praise of Udis constantly. They are very, very comfortable, and they do like lots of good designs, and just even like all the extra stuff that I've bought from the site of like the sleep teas and stuff like that. I'm just, at this point, I keep singing your praises. Just send me some
free stuff. So I think the one for me, it's probably like one of the best investments I've made is an espresso coffee machine. And I know coffee snobs will be like, that's not real coffee. Okay, but for the ease of convenience of waking up, and I press a button and I get a half decent cup of coffee, and then I can the pods, I can use the coffee grounds to, like, for my plants, and I can recycle all the aluminum that they come in. Because that's the thing about them as well. Keurigs are fucking terrible for the environment, whereas Nespresso, it's like George Clooney's involved with them. They make the pods recyclable.
And that's the thing, right? Is like, yeah, okay, coffee snobs might be sitting here and go, just go buy a proper coffee machine for like several £1,000s or whatever have you. Like, okay, that's fine. But as a good middle ground of something that's better than a bit of instant coffee.
Yeah, that's the thing.
But not something you have to invest like £1,000 in a good machine
and
for.
That's often something like snobs or like aficionados. It's not it's not be mean. Like they're passionate about something. Like aficionados of like a given product or lifestyle or hobby will look down upon people who don't spend or invest as much time into it as they do. But not everyone can afford to or has the inclination to do that. And like I said, I don't want instant coffee sucks, and that's like better than going out and going to Starbucks, because like 20p a pod. I think 20p for a half decent cup of coffee in the morning is fine. That's a payment I'm willing to make.
Yeah, and I'm a person who has an espresso machine with a milk frother in my house, like a cheap one, admittedly, but like I have that, and I'm not sitting here going, well, Karl, you could go and get like this better experience for more money. It's like, well, yeah, of course.
But like, how much better will the experience be for the amount of money that I'm putting into it?
And the amount of extra effort you've got to put in to make that cup of coffee.
And plus, I just like the ritual. I love my little coffee machine.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, like, just like every morning when I get up, I know it's morning when I press the button. It's like, it makes the noise. It's very satisfying. It only cost me 60 quid as well. I got a good deal on it. Got a really good deal on mine. And then I think, is there any more products that you would wholeheartedly endorse, Lucas, before we go?
I can't really think of one anymore. Like, I think I'm other than just being like, here's a bunch of like gaming stuff that I've bought.
In which case, Lucas, let's switch it up and not necessarily say products, but there are things that you would not cheap out on. Like, for example, is there like, when you're buying groceries, for example, is there one thing that's like, this is just the best version of like this item? Like, for me, it's like shower gel, original source. If you're not using original source for your shower gel, the fuck you doing?
I mean, and to be fair, that stuff's like cheap as fuck.
It
anyway.
is. That's the thing. It's really cheap. But it's like, I don't understand how it's as cheap as it is, given that it smells and feels better than every other like shower gel on the market.
I mean, I will maybe say that, yeah, like I probably do when it comes to hygiene stuff. Like, for example, my shampoo, I spend a lot of money on like proper salon shampoo. It's like, I dye my hair a lot. I also like get quite a bad scalp, with like dry scalp and stuff. So like, I do find the investment worth it for myself.
And I also was saying things. The only thing I will use on my hair is Aussie formulations. I used to live in a house with a guy who was in a metal band, and he had like the most perfect power metal mane. And I went into the bathroom and looked at what he used in his hair, and went, I'm using that.
Yeah, fair.
So I asked him, like, what do you use on your hair? It's like, Aussie, mate. It's only Aussie. And there we go, done. It's the only stuff I'll use on my hair. I think that's like £7 a bottle. Which sounds a lot for shampoo, but it lasts like 6 months.
But like, yeah, I've kind of like upgraded over time as like I've grown my hair a bit longer to like just be like, ask my hairdresser, like, just tell me what the fuck I need to buy, because I'm growing my hair out and I don't want it to be super damaged with all the amount of dyeing I do to it.
Yeah. That's normally what I do. I just look at the person like, okay, like this person has like really good hair or skin or whatever. What the fuck do you use? And how much of it do you use and how often? I will do that.
Yeah.
But either way, thank you everyone for watching. Let us know, your favourite, device or idea for something that could exist. If you'd like to continue the conversation, started in this video by myself and Lucas, you can do so by going to the Discord link below. Otherwise, hope everyone out there has the day they deserve, and saying just cheers and tune in next time.
Oh yeah.